At the University of Arizona BIO5 Institute, we are focused on tackling complex challenges such as disease, hunger, water and food safety, and other health and environmental issues facing our families, communities, and the world. BIO5 brings together hundreds of multifaceted experts that include world-class scientists, engineers, physicians, and computational researchers in a team science environment designed to creatively solve difficult problems. This approach has resulted in disease prevention strategies, promising new therapies, innovative diagnostics and devices, and improved food crops. Join us each week as we talk about science with researchers, staff, and students from the University of Arizona's BIO5 Institute.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Science Talks, a conversation hosted by the University of Arizona's BIO5 Institute. My name is Dr. Brittany Ulorn.
And I'm Brooke Moreno.
And at the BIO5 Institute, we're helping to develop our next generation of scientists through innovative internship programs and an interactive learning environment where students work side by side with our researchers. Today, we're talking with Dr. Uwe Hilgert, Associate Research Professor and Director of Industry Relations, Workforce Development, and STEM Training at the BIO5 Institute. Dr. Hilgert has extensive experience in developing educational programs and providing our students with the tools for professional success. Dr. Hilgert, it's so great to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I know that you hold graduate degrees in biology and microbiology and botany, but you've since transitioned your career away from the lab bench. So I know many graduate students, including my former self last year, are interested in pursuing careers in things like outreach, communication, and policy. So I'm just curious, at what point did you decide to make the switch from being a traditional bench scientist to educating and training the next generation?
Well, thank you for this question, Britt. Appreciate it. And actually, I think it could be helpful to understand a little bit about my own professional vitae to understand that step, and actually how this was not as preordained as some of the current science education majors that I'm meeting at the University of Arizona and elsewhere are attacking or tackling this career wish. I always had a knack for making science relevant, for bridging the gap between those of us who followed their passion for science, working in the lab and on the forefront of knowledge, if you will, and those who were interested in hearing about science and what it was finding out, but did not become scientists themselves. I also always had an interest in communication, and so I studied how plants and microorganisms communicate with each other. First in Germany, where I examined at a famous research laboratory, the Max Planck Institute for Plant Breeding in Cologne, how plants and bacteria establish mutually beneficial interactions in symbiosis. After I finished my PhD with this work, I received funding from the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation to join the University of Arizona to examine how fungi can overcome plants' defense reactions and make them sick. So symbiosis beneficial versus the disease interaction, sick plants in this case when I came to Arizona. While conducting my research in the lab, I was asked by my neighbors to speak to a 5th grade class at Ross Crouch Bilingual Elementary School in the West University neighborhood in Tucson. Well, that visit was fun, and I proposed to the teacher to work with her class during the entire fall semester. And actually also these were supposed to be my last few months in the US before I would return to Germany. She agreed, and we built a mutually beneficial relationship whereby I took her and her students on discoveries relating to biology, microbiology, plant, microbe interactions, food and cooking. Yeah, we went the whole yards, while learning from her how to manage people, which she had her hands full, of course, with 32 lively 5th graders. Now, during that whole fall, I think the most important thing the students, as well as the teacher, learned from me was that it is totally okay to say, I don't know, especially if it's followed by, let's find out.
Definitely.
After all, as a researcher at the university, I was being paid for scouting a path into the unknown, for generating new knowledge, for being a research scientist.
Mhm.
In turn, I learned that I very much enjoyed working with the students, their parents, and the teacher. More importantly, though, I learned that scientists and other professionals can bring a lot of good to pre-college education in the public. And that's when I decided to change my career and bring my passion for science into education.
Mhm.
So during that winter, I did not move back to Germany as originally planned, but stayed in the US, writing funding proposals and job applications to pursue my new passion. So the next few years were fascinating then. At first, I remained at the university, teaching students who prepared to become agricultural education teachers.
Ah.
I also served as the academic advisor for some 450 microbiology students and veterinary science students at the University of Arizona here in Tucson. 5 years later, I followed a different call and joined the DNA Learning Center of another famous laboratory, this time on the East Coast here in the United States, Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory on Long Island, just outside of New York City.
Ooh.
There then, I developed lessons and trained teachers and college educators, professors, to enrich their entire biology teaching with bioinformatics, a
Oof.
recently emerged discipline that uses computers and algorithms to decipher the information in biological molecules, such as in DNA and proteins.
Mm.
There I also served as the assistant dean of the lab's graduate school, the Watson School of Biological Sciences. So I went all the way out, and I was there in New York for 11 years before I came back to Tucson to join the BIO5 Institute at the University of Arizona as director in what it was called then Education Outreach and Training, EOT, continuing to bridge the gap between research and the public. That's my story.
Whew. Just a real straight and narrow there, right?
Keeping it tight, keeping it tight.
Remember when EOT was around here at BIO5, and we've since evolved into public affairs. But part of that EOT work that you started and have continued is the Student Industry Networking event. So this event connects students in the STEM fields with numerous bioscience organizations across the state. Tell us more about where did the conception come for you for this event, and why do you continue to pour yourself into it?
Well, see, during that time at the university, our students acquire the skills and habits to become future researchers. And I'm proud of being part of that group of people, the professors, the instructors, to actually make that happen and help for that to happen. But what we as faculty are not always doing the best job in is preparing our students' skills for becoming productive and satisfied future employees
Mm,
outside of the university, as after all, not everyone is interested in becoming a university professor or a university researcher.
right.
We therefore teamed up with the bioindustry organization Southern Arizona, also lovingly abbreviated BIOSA, and created an opportunity for students to actually meet people from industry and talk to them what it is about to work in industry, to pursue a career in industry. And that event then we called the Student Industry Networking Event, or lovingly again, SINE, S-I-N-E. During SINE, our students, and that is undergraduates, graduate students, and postdoctoral students that already have even their PhD, meet with people that work in the biomedical and biotechnology industry that stretches from staff in the companies to CEOs and company owners,
Wow.
entrepreneurs. And the unique feature of SINE is that it is different from a regular job fair in that the companies do not send human resources staff, but they're researchers. In other words, people
Ah.
who have the same education, the same training, similar views and aspirations, like in finding a cure for a disease, wanting to contribute to solving some of humanity's challenges, such as overpopulation, food security, water scarcity, pain and suffering. So the students meet actually people that have very similar interests to their own, to ask them, like, how did you get to be where you are right now? Isn't it true that you graduated and you were immediately the CEO of a company? No, of course not. careers are really not as we imagined, and many of us still imagine, especially early on in when we start our career path, that they're fairly straightforward and we got to know from the beginning what we want to do. Well, and then life happens, right? And so that interaction between students and the company representatives allow for the students to just ask questions, to witness and learn from the industry staff and the researchers and the CEOs, what it takes to go into industry, what classes they were missing, what education they were missing when they finally started their first job, what did they actually miss by becoming great laboratory researchers, but are there things like, say, team working skills and creativity and whatnot that they could also prepare in school already for.
Right.
And so I actually, when I recruit companies, I tell them, it doesn't matter whether you have an opening that you recruit for, please come and just be an advisor to our students. And the company's feedback
Oh, I
after
love that.
our event, they're telling us also, wow, what a great opportunity to listen in a little bit what today's students care about, what their questions are, and what is important to them, because they will be our employees come a few years down the road.
Definitely. Yeah, such an impactful event. You're right. It is so much different than the traditional job fair. And I even know just myself as a student, what had been most helpful to me in even determining what my future career would be, were doing these kind of like informational interviews or going to events like this where maybe there wasn't necessarily a job or an internship opportunity, but just being able to talk to people in the field, people that I could see myself in, and learning their stories and what they loved about their job. I think that has been one of the most helpful things to me. So it's amazing that Sign has been able to provide this to our students for almost 15 years now. I know more recently you've started the faculty industry networking event, lovingly called FINE. So I wanted to know if you could tell us a bit more about your goal for this event, because obviously it's not about faculty getting jobs in industry. So tell us more about how FINE supports the innovative and collaborative research at the BIO5 Institute.
Well, to start this out with setting even a counterpoint to what you just said, why not for faculty to actually becoming entrepreneurs themselves? So, well, having learned from our students how much they valued this interaction with company representatives in the student industry networking event, we thought to ourselves whether we could offer a similar event to connect actually our research scientists with industry. See, most scientists actually wish for their science to matter. They take pride in solving problems that affect real people and not just be in an ivory tower and do their research behind closed doors. We therefore got together again with BIOSA, the Bioindustry Organization, Southern Arizona, and put together an annual faculty industry networking event of FINE. And we had, in the 2 times that we ran this so far in the last 2 years, about 50 faculty and industry representatives gathered to learn from each other and build relationships and communicate. Researchers learn what projects our regional biotech industry work on and what kind of problems they need help with potentially. In turn, industry representatives get to know our researchers and what types of specialized knowledge and expertise they might be able to fall back on here in the University of Arizona, and specifically the BIO5 membership that's now, I think, close to 300 researchers.
Up there.
That they can actually, companies and CEOs can potentially fall back on to find help in their endeavors to develop new products and services such as diagnostics, medication, treatments for diseases, water treatment, environmental problems, the whole gamut, right? In addition, for the faculty industry networking event, we also invite and are being joined by representatives from the university and regional ecosystem that support the commercialization and broader impact of research and discoveries. And these are, financial funders, our Tech Launch Arizona, the Arizona Tech Parks, the University Contracts Office, because in any interactions between university researchers and companies. There need to be, clearly laid down rules and who does what, who can reap what benefits, and things like that. So yeah, the faculty industry networking event, we have done it twice. We sometimes talk about it, do it more often, but I think it's realistic to pull those 2 groups and 3 groups of people together at least once a year. It's a good thing.
Yeah, well, and even if, they're not meeting at the traditional FINE event more than once a year, at least at this event, we are starting those conversations, right? So it can kind of be this catalyst for continued collaboration.
Right. Geez, Dr. Hilgert, you've worked with just a plethora of audiences. So let me see: undergraduates, graduates, postdocs, faculty, community educators, high school teachers. And even in this past year, Dr. Hilgert, you were an instrumental part of moving the Keys High School internship program online and transitioning that focus from training students and allowing them to apply biotech bench techniques to computational research, data science. So tell us a little bit about that. What's the difference for you between a traditional offering of Keys and how you moved our educational platform to a computational offering?
Well, I'm tempted to talk a little bit about data science because that is sort of
Tell us about that.
Perfect.
What bioinformatics was, say in late, just around 2000. Is now data science. It's a whole new discipline. And so, and I also appreciate the way you asked that question, because you said for me, because as bioinformatics was back then not well defined, computer folks thought totally differently about it than biological researchers, and funding agencies had their own image what this might be. With data science, it's even bigger now, because all of a sudden the politics come in, the government regulators and things like that. And so for me, I always grab on to that term data science. And that term data subsumes and combines in itself like observations, recordings, measurements. If you want to think of them like entries into spreadsheets, into notebooks, into databases, if you will, and of course, image archives. So while traditional scientists in traditional sciences attempt to study and understand the nature and the interactions of things, data scientists have set out to understand the nature and interrelations of data. And given the amount and complexity of the data we generate in traditional sciences today, data science is an immensely important and transdisciplinary, so across disciplines, over disciplines, and under disciplines. It's a field that uses scientific methods and processes to extract knowledge from data across a broad range of disciplines. In short, whether a budding data scientist has received her education on solving issues in genomics, or in astronomy, or in social sciences, or in physics, their training will allow them to provide invaluable contributions to any scientific discipline. They will also become highly sought after in the future, and already now, in academic, in business, in administrations, as I said that before. We really cannot address the grand challenges humanity faces by looking at them from single disciplinary perspectives, biology, physics, psychology, and social sciences, and also not like with isolating a gene here or looking at a star there, but we have to start working across all those disciplines, integrating them into a major endeavor of humanity to find new knowledge, and have to work together to develop solutions. And data science is a foundational discipline in that whole human endeavor. And that's why the BIO5 Institute has also laid a big emphasis on integrating data science in any of the work that it does, be that biomedical, be that biotechnology, be that environmental sciences, and all the different grand challenges that researchers in the BIO5 Institute work on.
Wow. So multidisciplinary. Excuse me. So just thinking about myself as a former bench scientist, thinking about data science was very intimidating to me. So when thinking about the curriculum for Keys and where to even start with these high school students, what are some of the just basic data science techniques or skills that you wanted them to learn to just kind of get their feet wet?
Yeah, in a nutshell again. So first off, KEYS, the abbreviation, took me a while to internalize that and learn this by heart, but stands for Keep Engaging Youth in STEM. Keep engaging youth in STEM. So what that means to me, first of all, is that the students that come to KEYS are not perceived as like blank slates. They are passionate about science. They have, participated in science and engineering fairs in the region or elsewhere, or not yet maybe, and prepare for that. Whatever it might be, they're passionate about science, and then they apply to join our program. It's 7 weeks at the University of Arizona in the summer. To basically dedicate a large amount of their free time to join us and participate in research laboratories and of researchers that are practicing while we are having this interview right now. These researchers are in their labs. So the students come, join them for 7 weeks, and then they leave off. And we kept them engaged, right? They come already engaged and excited. We keep them engaged, and then we help them build their platform to move on and move on into the field of science. Many come back as undergraduates or move to other fantastic institutions to pursue their education and move on into great job opportunities. KEYS has been around for a good while now too. So we have students that have not only passed through KEYS as high school students, but meanwhile have accepted positions at universities or in companies. Now it is exciting to me to participating in teaching future scientists with the mindset and the tools they will be needing in their professional careers. And that's not only the bench work anymore that that I and many of the students enjoy doing anyways, but now with those huge amounts of data that we generate and with the endeavor to actually integrate findings from different disciplines, like if I give you an example, not very substantial here, but if I want to study an aspect of a behavior, of a human behavior, I can't just isolate the genes that might underlay some aspects of that behavior. I should try in a research project like this to also work with social scientists that have different ways to gather data, with potentially people that document how people behave through images and videos. Huge archives of images and videos that we need to extract information from. And this is now so huge that we need more and more to extract actually information from all these data, again, the data, by using automated means. And for that, our spreadsheet, as good as they are for accountants and even for me as a program coordinator in many ways, so I love Excel, but with those kind of tools that have been developed decades ago and for very specific purposes that expand that don't cover what the research scientists data they have and need to analyze, they have to even be prepared to build their own computational tools as researchers. And for that, it's important for them to learn at least some of these aspects of what it takes to develop these tools, that if they don't want to embark on developing themselves, that they know how to talk with the data scientists in terms of what they will be asking for. They will talk about benchmarks versus a biologist who deals with millions of years of nucleotide sequence development in evolution and whatnot, right? How do you bring these two fields together if you wait till the folks are settled in their careers and have jobs, are 30, 40 years old, as opposed to starting this with the high school students when we do this during KEYS. So our students, whatever sciences they are engaging on in KEYS, and it's usually along the context of life sciences, whether that's genomics or environmental sciences or plant sciences or nutritional sciences, they the students become literate in working with us, with
Mm.
working with digital technology to generate, analyze, and interpret the data, which will be paramount to their success. And it's actually interesting in that regards, the break that we all experienced last year and still ongoingly so
The break.
gave us a huge
I know. I love that wording.
gave us a huge opportunity to actually hit the brakes, and instead of letting all the students go off in their genomics laboratory or their plant science laboratory or working with psychological researchers or wherever it might be in their little cubicles and conduct the research hands-on with instruments that scientists use, go back and say, hey, they have to stay at home. How can we make this still happen for them, that they have this experience, right? And so that's where the leaders of KEYS, especially Kelly Highland and Brooke Moreno here, said this, it has to work somehow. So that's how they basically said that to me, this has to work somehow. And we said, okay,
Dr. Hilgert, make this work.
let's make this work. Exactly right. So students will graduate from KEYS now with this new version. How we did this last year was 49 students and 40 faculty that said, yep, we have data, we have images here that we didn't have time yet to analyze. They would be perfect for students that commute in via computer. You know, is that a term now, commuting via computer?
It could be.
I heard that from faculty and somebody else who had big statistical analyses that needed to be done on their data. And we had so many different things, including like somebody who worked on the visualization of a heart muscle beating and how you can actually use that to diagnose potentially disease long before a person would experience a heart attack or something like that. And so these students worked from home. They went with us through their 1-week training week, where also many of the faculty took on important roles as co-instructors for the students, because yeah, I can help make that work, but do I know all that stuff and could even teach it? Oh my goodness, I would be damaged and good there, right? Those students last year, as the ones from this year, 51 students, 52 coming up, they graduated from KEYS confident that they now have new skills in scientific reproducibility, data accessibility, and advanced analytics, you know, analyzing data to meet and exceed what the scientific community currently is still expecting. The scientific community is not on the forefront yet there.
No.
It's places like our Data Science Institute at the University of Arizona that I was lucky with, able to be collaborating with them, that I know some of these aspects, but even our students are even ahead of many of our own research scientists, and that's now university and worldwide, that still says, wait, I didn't study biology to do anything else but use maybe an Excel spreadsheet. Right? So our students are prepared, I can tell you that.
Incredible.
Dr. Hilgert, holy cow. Like I said before, you were crucial to us successfully moving our program online last summer. And as you pointed out, we were so wonderfully surprised. Maybe surprised isn't the word, but thrilled that the projects were so successful and still so interesting and engaging. And I completely agree with you. This is the future of research. No one is strictly working at the bench anymore, and they shouldn't want to. And you are helping us educate students so they don't have to be stuck at the bench. How boring.
If I just may add one, because you used the term surprise, and for me there was one surprise in there that, well, I had actually that surprise already when I was an advisor many years back in the Department of Veterinary Science and Microbiology. Back then, it's now a different name, the animal and biomedical. Oh,
Animal and comparative biomedical sciences.
There it is. That's the new name of it. But
It's a mouthful.
so I wasn't as surprised as I was, Brooke. I go with a thrilled. I stick to that, and that is to discover while we were using the same platform, a video platform that has a chat window to it, and while I was leading instruction or being nervous about whether the next speaker is going to be on time and things like that, I wasn't really able to. But when I later on went back and just reviewed the chat to see did we miss any questions and things like that, I was blown away about the interactions among the students, about how the students were starting to build community. So it's interesting to me because in many Zoom meetings that I'm still obviously participating, professional meetings and so forth, so often comes this excuse up, or this was a negative expression, because I don't know yet how to address it when it's being brought up, but this sentiment of, we can't wait till this thing is over. Yeah, I can't wait either till this thing is over, this thing being the pandemic. It's the reasoning that's being used, because then we can finally have relationships again and see each other in person. I look forward to seeing people in person, but what we learned also during the pandemic, how to utilize technology, not only for our highly sophisticated research, but to build and to maintain relationships. I sang Christmas carols with my parents and friends in Germany over the holidays.
Incredible.
Not even 3 weeks before the Christmas had I thought about that would be a possibility.
Yeah.
Then I thought back, wait, somehow Keys surprised me or thrilled me in that regard, with allowing for that to happen. That should be possible with my parents too.
Yeah.
It worked out like a charm.
I know when I was interviewing the Keys students this past summer, and I was asking them, how is the social aspect? Because I know that's always such a hallmark of the Keys in-person experience. And every student just raved about the community that had been created, and these students have never met in person. And so I think this Keys program has not only been a testament to the importance and the utility of data science, but it's been such a testament to the power of connection, even when we're physically isolated during this pandemic.
Totally.
Absolutely. And as you described, for data science techniques, the techniques need to evolve with the data, right? And even educationally, the way we teach our students, the way we educate our students has to evolve with their growing needs. And so thank you for your help there. Well, Dr. Hilgert, this was fun. It was great to learn about you, to learn about your curvature of a career and how it led you here back to Tucson, back at BIO5 Institute. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
It was great to have you. And thank you to our listeners. Thanks for checking in for another episode of our Science Talks. For more information, make sure you check out our website at bio5.org. And from all of us at BIO5 Institute, stay well.
To our audience for tuning in to another episode of Science Talks. Continue the conversation with us next time as we learn more about the science happening at the University of Arizona's BIO5 Institute.